Kenya has a bold and serious plan to become a first world country by 2055. The goal is not vague or symbolic. It is a detailed, funded, and already partially built mission to transform one of Africa's most dynamic nations into something that looks and functions like Singapore. That comparison is not accidental. Kenya's leaders have said it openly and repeatedly. Singapore went from a struggling third world country to one of the wealthiest and most advanced nations on earth in just 30 years. Kenya believes it can do the same. What makes this story even more interesting is where both countries started. In 1960, Kenya and Singapore were in almost identical situations. Both were poor, both were underdeveloped. Both had recently gained independence and were trying to figure out what kind of future they wanted to build. Singapore gained independence in 1965, just 2 years after Kenya. And here is the part that surprises many people. Singapore's founding father, Lee Kuan Yew, actually visited Kenya in 1964 to learn from the country. At that point, Kenya was seen as the one with potential. But the two nations took completely different paths. Singapore chose strict discipline, zero tolerance for corruption, heavy investment in education, and an aggressive push to attract foreign businesses. Kenya took a different road, and the gap between the two countries grew wider with every passing decade. Now, 6 decades later, Kenya has decided to change course. The projects already underway are some of the most ambitious on the African continent. The centerpiece of Kenya's transformation is a place called Konza Technopolis, a brand new smart city being built from scratch on 5,000 acres of land, about 60 kilometers southeast of Nairobi. When construction began in 2018, the entire site was bush and open savanna. Today, it is rising into something that looks strikingly similar to Singapore's own high-tech districts. Wide modern roads, underground power lines, smart drainage systems, and gleaming new buildings are all part of a $15 billion vision to create Africa's own Silicon Valley, which Kenyans are calling the Silicon Savannah. At the heart of Konza is a world-class university modeled after South Korea's famous KAIST institution, which ranks among the top 50 universities in the world. Kenya's version, built at a cost of over $130 million with significant support from a South Korean loan, will train young Kenyans in advanced computing, engineering, artificial intelligence, and agricultural technology. The goal is straightforward. Stop sending Kenya's best minds abroad and start building a highly skilled workforce that creates and owns innovation right at home. To support that mission, Kenya has partnered with Chinese technology company Huawei to build East Africa's largest data center inside Konza City. It is a facility capable of storing enormous amounts of digital information, running at nearly 100% reliability, and meeting international energy efficiency standards. For the first time, Kenyan researchers and institutions will be able to run complex digital operations on local infrastructure, rather than renting computing power from foreign companies and sending money and sensitive data abroad. One program already delivering results is called Jitume, a Swahili word meaning push yourself. It is a nationwide digital skills initiative that sets up free computer hubs across the country, including in rural and underserved areas. Young Kenyans can walk in with just a national identity card, access high-speed internet, and receive training in areas like data entry, digital marketing, graphic design, and software development. By 2026, over 1.8 million young people had gone through programs like Jitume and a related initiative called Ajira. More than 300,000 of them are already earning income through digital platforms and the global gig economy. Some are working remotely for companies in the United States while living in their home country. Alongside Konza, another major project called Tatu City is showing what private investment can do when the right conditions are created. Tatu City is a $4 billion privately built urban development located just 20 kilometers from Nairobi's city centre. It spans 5,000 acres and has been designed as an investor-friendly zone with a 10% corporate tax rate, no import duties, and no value-added tax. Global companies get reliable power, clean water, and fast internet, all managed privately and shielded from the problems that affect national infrastructure. The results are already visible. By 2025, Tatu City had attracted over $3 billion in foreign investment and created more than 25,000 direct jobs for Kenyans. Kenya is also taking on its infrastructure challenges head-on. The main international airport in Nairobi, built in 1958 for 7.5 million passengers, is now handling over 9 million people a year in a facility that was never designed for that volume. Leaking roofs, power failures, and a single runway system that can bring the entire operation to a stop when one plane breaks down have made expansion an urgent priority. The government is pushing forward with a $2 billion overhaul that would increase passenger capacity from 9 million to over 22 million and dramatically grow cargo handling capacity over the next 2 decades. Connecting the country by land is another piece of the plan. A standard gauge railway already links the port city of Mombasa on the Indian Ocean to Nairobi, passing through national parks where passengers can spot elephants and giraffes from their seats. The government wants to extend this railway network across the region, connecting Uganda, Rwanda, and potentially other landlocked countries to Kenya's coast through a $5 billion regional rail corridor. This would position Kenya as the central logistics hub for East Africa, the place through which goods and people must pass. The biggest and most ambitious project of all is called LAPSSET. It is a $25 billion program to build an entirely new trade corridor across Kenya, anchored by a deep-sea port in the northern coastal town of Lamu. The plan includes a new railway connecting Lamu to the interior and eventually to South Sudan and Ethiopia, highways, oil pipelines, international airports, and special economic zones. If completed, it would open up the vast northern and eastern regions of Kenya, which make up over 70% of the country's land, but have historically received very little development. It would also give Kenya direct control over trade routes, serving a region of 160 million people. Progress on LAPSSET is real but slow. The first sections of Lamu Port are already operational, but the railway and pipeline components still face significant financing gaps and long timelines stretching into the 2040s. The biggest obstacle Kenya faces is not money or ambition, it is corruption. Singapore is ranked as one of the least corrupt countries on earth. Kenya sits at 130th. There have already been cases of politicians attempting to seize land from private developments like Tatu City, and there are serious concerns that funds secured for major projects could disappear before they are ever put to use. Many analysts say that if Kenya can bring corruption under control, the path to first world status becomes genuinely possible. If it cannot, even the best plans will fall short. President William Ruto has said plainly that Kenya has the people, the resources, the plan, and the vision. What happened between Kenya and Singapore over the past 60 years was a gap in execution, not potential. Kenya is now betting that it can close that gap in the next 30 years. The foundations are being laid, the buildings are rising, and the young people are being trained. Whether the country can hold it all together long enough to cross the finish line is the question the whole continent is watching.